Okay, and welcome to the Boost Hospitality Podcast. I am your host, Mark Simpson, and I am the founder of Boostly. We are the independent hospitality agency that is helping independent hospitality owners from all over the world increase their bookings, cut down on cancellation rates, and more importantly, getting more time back in the day. If you are a hospitality owner and you are listening to this for the first time, thank you for joining me. Make sure that you go and join the Hospitality Community Facebook group. You can find it by searching for the Hospitality Community in Facebook. And if you want to sign up to a free guide on how you can boost your direct bookings in 5 simple steps, go to boostly.co.uk/email. And Boostly, as you should know by now, is Boostly. Okay, welcome to Series 3. We are going to kick things off with a very special interview with a good friend of mine called Callum Morgan. Now, the idea for season 3 is that I wanted to speak to people in the industry that are also helping hospitality owners just like myself. And I've got a really good season lined up for everybody. It's been a lot of fun recording it and chatting to them. The premises for this and the reason I wanted to do this is because 4 years ago, when I was looking on the internet for people that were out there and helping hospitality owners, I found it really hard to find them. Since starting Boostly, ironically, and the reason why I started Boostly is because I found it really hard to find somebody that was helping guys and girls out there. I thought, well, I can do this. So I started up Boostly to do that. But ironically, since starting Boostly, I've discovered quite a nice network of other people in the hospitality world who are helping other hospitality owners, whether that's by virtual tour software, whether it's in the pub or restaurant industry, whether it's through guest relations and showing people how to run a guest house. And I've got to know them really well. And I've lined up a set of guests that all vary in different skills. And that was important to me. So today's guest is Callum Morgan. Callum Morgan has got a company called Morgan Branding. He will introduce himself in a couple of minutes, but he's grown up in the hospitality world as well. He's only 26, and his parents and him have owned a cottage in Wales for a long time now. And they were able to grow that from just being a house, an empty house, into a thriving hospitality rental business. On the back of that, he then started up a company, and now he started up another company which is called Morgan Branding. And he loves doing websites, he loves doing virtual tours, he loves doing branding. He's very, very good with his rates, which is going to be the theme of today's episode. And he's a jack of all trades. I've got to know him over the last year now. He's a really nice guy. His only downfall is that he's a Manchester United fan, but I'll let him off with that one. But I'm going to hand you over now to Callum, and he's just going to introduce himself.
Hi, Mark. So it's Callum Morgan. I own a company called Morgan Branding, which is a marketing agency, I suppose, in the true sense of the word. We concentrate. Well, we work across all sectors, but we do have a specific focus on the hospitality world. So I've had my parents have had a self-catering holiday let for 10 years now. April 2018 will be our 10-year anniversary. We bought in the dreaded 2018. Little did we know what was going to 2008. Little did we know what was going to happen afterwards. But actually, it's been pretty good going all the way through. So we've had a whole host of different ways of looking after that house. One of the main things we looked at first off, we worked with English Country Cottages or Ho Seasons Group, because that was who my mum was working with on a few other houses. So my mum actually looked after 4 houses at the time when we bought ours of very similar size. So she had some background in the industry, and I kind of got massively involved with her, looking at social media and stuff at that time, and email marketing and bits and bobs in that world. But I was I would have been 16, 17 at that point. So I was going off to university and college and kind of flitted in and out at various points. But 3.5 years ago, when I finished university, I took it a lot more seriously. I've pretty much taken the running on of that business from that point, from the marketing standpoint. And 2 years ago, my mum got, she's ill. I don't want to exaggerate it too much, but she wanted to take a back seat from the day-to-day running, the phone and the guests, the looking after the guests. So instead of me just doing the marketing and trying to get the bookings through the door, I took on everything. So that gave me a really good insight into the hospitality business, what people look at. And obviously I looked at competitors, other listing websites. So we were on English Country Cottages. We work with another website called Kate and Tom's. Obviously there's Sykes cottages in our world. I know kind of more, obviously, meeting you, Mark, and looking at more stuff like Booking.com and TripAdvisor. It's not something that we use or have used. We always look in and out, but actually we're in the very lucky situation that we are full. We get to kind of 46, 47 weekend bookings a year. Well, 46, 47 bookings, of which most are weekend bookings, and that's as much as we need / want. So it gives us an opportunity to go ourselves. And at the minute, actually, what we're looking at doing is increasing the pricing and trying to reduce down the amount of agents that we use and reduce down that commission. So Ho Seasons Group, English Country Cottages, they charge 25%, Kate and Tom's charge 15%. And actually, a lot of the guests we get out of Kate and Tom's are a lot better quality of guests, if that's a fair way to do it. We actually get a lot of issues with the English Country Cottages guests. Just generic, for some reason the type of people that book seem to be a lot more hard work, and 99.9% of our guests, you turn up, you give them the key, you don't hear from them again, apart from on Monday to say, we've had a fantastic weekend, we'd love to come back again, or can we book again? And that's the type of guest that we want. It's no hassle, not the ones that ring you on a Saturday night saying that the house is too cold, the heating's not working or whatever, and you know it's something that they've done wrong. So that was kind of my background in the hospitality world, and what made me eventually start up my own company called Morgan Branding. So I was looking at what other houses were doing and was quite staggered, really, and was seeing other owners that were in a very similar situation to my mum. So my mum's 60. She's a big Facebook user and social media user and wants to do stuff but doesn't necessarily know how. Wants to have more bookings, wants the place to be busier, wants things to run more efficiently, but doesn't necessarily know the tools available. So then it crossed my mind, when you're in work and you're dealing with other people, you've got lots of other ideas flowing. You might work with other companies in a working environment, or you might have different teams if you work at a big company. But when you are running a self-catering holiday let, or a lot of hospitality businesses, it's quite lonely and you're on your own a lot of the time. You're working on your own. You won't have a team because you can't afford a team because the margins are quite low. So often it's you trying stuff and trial and error. And I often found when I was in my other job, we'd go out to other companies and somebody would then mention MailChimp or Hootsuite or these little tools that people use that I had absolutely no idea about. And until somebody opens that door to you, you don't realise the way you're doing things is really inefficient, and you can do a lot more in a lot less time. So I was opening these things up to my mum and teaching about that, and she loved it, basically. And I then was like, wow, there's going to be other owners out there that might need that bit of a guiding hand. Maybe they've got a really old-fashioned website that they built 10, 15 years ago, or even 5 years ago, but on the cheap, or maybe they've tried to build their own website, but because they maybe don't have the technical skills of, I'm 26, so I've grown up in this world of working with websites. It's quite easy it's not quite easy, I suppose. It's giving myself a little bit of disjustice, but I can sit there for a week and watch YouTube videos, pick stuff up and dive in, whereas that's less likely to happen for somebody who's maybe 50, 60, 70 and coming into this world quite new, which is what a lot of the owners are, because not a lot of 26-year-old can own a house, never mind a second house to rent out. So our target audience is that kind of 50, 60, 70-year-old person that's owned a self-catering holiday let, that want to do more, want to get more bookings, pay less in commission, and just make things a little bit more efficient. So we really went after that. I always use my mum as a case study and run things by her, whether she would be whether she would take to it. And we've just had a good chunk of success doing that. Tidying up websites. You'd be amazed at how many self-lets say don't even have a website, so they rely on somebody like a Sykes Cottages, and Sykes do all their bookings. They take the 25%, and I'm like, well, just if you invested 1 year of that commission into setting up your own website, a big marketing campaign, you'd probably find that you could even bin off Sykes after 1 year. So it's just getting people out of their comfort zone, doing a bit more themselves. Obviously, there's a lot of owners in this world that don't want to do anything themselves. They just want to hand over the issue to another company. They want the money to come in the bank, and that's it, and that's fine. And they're not the type of people that we go after. It's the people that maybe are trying but not succeed, and they want to come up with some new ideas. So one of the things that we got into earlier this year was 360 tours. So my other business from my dad that I was working for were a commercial estate agents, and we'd started to see more of this kind of virtual reality tech coming in. We had some companies doing like CGI impressions of how an office space would look before you moved in, because it can be quite difficult in some buildings to visualize space. So if you imagine in the office world, how many desks can you get in a certain space? It's quite a hard thing to see when you see an open space. People struggle when they do it in a house. It's even harder, I think, in an office environment. So I was starting to see this tech coming in and was like, wow, that could be used for the whole world. So we get people asking to see our house before. They want to know what disabled access is like. They want to know what the rooms look like. They want to know which rooms are en suite. And when I started to see this implemented in our world, I could see there was huge crossovers. That it's fantastic for me as an owner now. We've got this 3D tour of our house to just go, there you go, that's how it looks like. And that is how it looks like. It's not pictures that have been, I don't know about other holiday owners if you listen to this, but you might have had a whole day sometimes when you're taking pictures of your house. You're moving props around, you're making sure the lighting's right. This kind of 360 tour gives you, it is what it is. Now the guests know that as well. So when they arrive, they know it is going to look like that. Obviously, it will be extra immaculate and you'll have made sure it's absolutely picture perfect before you do the tour. But as a tool to give that to your guests, it's fantastic. We've also found that we gave the guests a guided tour before they arrived at the house. We meet and greet every one of our guests. And we've been able to do away with that guided tour, which actually saves me money on the housekeeper, because it's less time when she's going around the house. She can just go in, show them how the heating works, and they've already seen the house online. So we found it as a fantastic tool, not just for marketing, but for once we get the guests in, helping them ask questions. They might be asking about specific rooms, whether it would suit their mum and dad, say, that might have disabled issues, or kind of how close the room is to another room. They're going to put kids in one room and the parents in another room. So we found, not just on the marketing standpoint, but the after they've booked, helping them plan how they're going to do the stay. It's been brilliant for us.
So in our chat, I went on to ask Callum this question. Why should a hospitality owner be investing in virtual tour software for 2018, 19 and moving forward? This is what he had to say.
It sounds like a weird negative, I would say, but a lot of people think that it will look worse than it is. So it might put off people who would have booked, but then see it and go, actually, I don't like that. Now, that can have a twofold attack, that either your space isn't good enough and you need to look at upgrading your rooms, and that will actually help your B&B or whatever it is to actually make it look better if it does look, if it doesn't look up to standard, because that's going to help everything anyway.
And the final question that I asked Callum, and this is going to be the same question that I ask all of my guests this season, is this: what is the one bit of advice that you could pass on to any hospitality owner that they could use to boost their bookings right now? Callum was a little bit cheeky. He gave me two, so I'll let Callum explain what that would be.
The one for me would be review your pricing. So when I got involved in the house with my mum, we'd always pretty much relied on Ho Season's English Country Cottages to set our pricing. And when I started looking at other agents, I started to get, basically I let them go blind and go, you tell me what I should charge for these weeks. And we started to see some discrepancies. And then when I look back in our past bookings, these were discrepancies that had gone way back, where English Country Cottages had priced 1 week as something, and actually that week had always booked miles in advance and we hadn't spotted it. So review your pricing, come up with what you feel right, and then take advice off other, if you are using agents that are going to help you, look what they're charging as well. If it's in a kind of a hospitality or a B&B environment, look what other places are charging. Try different things. Try upping your prices by a £5 or lowering your prices by a £5 in different rooms at different times of the year, and experiment and play around and monitor what's going along. Because we've basically found that, ours are kind of obviously bigger bookings and less bookings, so it can have more effect. But we can change 200-300 quid on some weeks. And if we do that over 2 or 3 weeks and get, say, 900 quid in, that might be the same profit margin as we get on one weekend booking. So just by upping the price a little bit, we actually could take one less booking. So as a B&B owner, you're taking way more bookings. If you've got, say, 10 rooms over the space of a year, if you manage to increase each of them prices by £2, say, that can amount to a lot of money. And I was surprised how little time my mum spent on pricing. My mum's a mathematician as well and was a maths teacher, so you'd think it'd be something that she'd have a lot of interest in, but we just didn't. And I look back on that now and go, that's probably cost us thousands and thousands of pounds, the little amount of time we spent on pricing. So that would be my first thing. The other one is trying to get more direct bookings. So if you're somebody that doesn't take any direct bookings, at least try, come up with a way. If you're a self-catering holiday let owner, some of the places like sites will say, oh, you only have 4 owner booking weeks a year. This is not true. Push back on them and say you're not going to list with sites or not going to list with Host Seasons Group unless they give you unlimited owner bookings, and they will. They'll give you the unlimited, so you have free reign. So push back and take more owner bookings. Try and reduce that commission that you're paying, because you'll find you have to take a lot less bookings to make the same amount of money. And also, when you deal with a customer from point one to them staying in your house, we just find we have so many less issues come through. Sometimes we get agent bookings stressing about access because the agents might not have given them as much information. You know a lot more about your house, so when they're asking about restaurants, what to do in the local area, you'll be able to answer them questions a lot better than an agent, which is one customer service advisor sat looking at hundreds of thousands of properties. So I would say push more direct bookings. I'm always shocked, across a lot of sectors. So I say my dad's business is commercial property. On the 360 tours, we've been dealing with a lot of residential estate agents, and we and they rely so heavily on Rightmove. And I always go, well, what happens if Rightmove up their prices by 10% and you don't have your own website and you're not trying to get people to come direct to you? What do you do? And I see the same happen in the hospitality world. We rely on booking.coms of this world, and people aren't pushing their own Facebook pages or their own websites enough, just in case something, booking.com change the way they operate will kill your business. So I think it's so important.
Okay, and that was my interview with Callum Morgan of Morgan Branding. If you want to go find out more about what Callum does, morganbranding.co.uk, spelled morganbranding.co.uk. Go say hi to Callum, send him an email, or get in touch with him on Facebook. It's Callum Morgan on the Facebook. That was the end of episode 1. I really enjoyed that. Right now, you can go and download episode 2, which is going to be another great episode. And please, before you do leave, if you could go on to iTunes and leave a review. If you leave me a 5-star review, I'll send you all the virtual hugs. I want to get this podcast seen and listened by as many people as possible. So if you could send a link to a friend, post it or something on Facebook. Let people know that there is a hospitality podcast. Short, sharp, sweet episodes that you can listen to when changing the beds or making breakfast in the morning. If you haven't haven't listened to any of series 1 or 2, you can do so right now by going onto iTunes. The first season was all about 5 little tips that you can do to boost your bookings, and the second season was all about the buying process. My name's been Mark Simpson. You can find me on Twitter. It's @BoostlyUK. Instagram @BoostlyUK. The best place if you want to send me a message, come and find me on Facebook. Facebook.com/Mr. Mark Simpson. All right, I will see you for episode 2.